point is they raised tons of money nationally and poured it into a targeted number of states. I'll give you one number that represents what happened to New Hampshire in 2006, 2008. I'm giving you this background because it really sets the tone for what is really happening in New Hampshire rather than the conventional wisdom. Historically, state committees used to raise about $300,000 or $400,000 a year and run the administrative side of a party. In the last election cycle, 2007, 2008, the Republicans thought they did very well. They raised about $2 million in that cycle, including about $1 million from McCain for Get Out the Vote. In that period of time, the Democratic State Committee, not the candidates, received $9.7 million, 9.65. $7 million from out of state, from all kinds of radical left groups that had targeted the New England states to pass radical left agenda through. And that fueled the transition that took place in 2006 when they blindsided the Republicans running for the House and Senate in New Hampshire and took over control of the State House and the legislature for the first time in 100 years and continued through 2008. So this state, whether people like it or not, money's the mother's milk of politics. It allows you to shape your message exactly the way you want it and craft it in the way you want it to be heard. And when you do that, you can win elections. They ran on the pledge, which has implicit in it a commitment to lower spending and smaller government, and they spend like crazy to create an imperative by the words of their own appropriations and Ways and Means chairman in the House that they want to have an income tax, and that's why they're doing it. So they promise with the pledge to be fiscally frugal, and then they put through a budget that will force somebody someday to have to impose that tax.
So you think all the problems that weren't solved in this budget go around, that was intentional to create a bigger mess later on?
I think so. You can't be that incompetent. I tried to find out what the current unfunded liability is. You had an editorial that called it, I think, $4 billion. You're off. If you want to find out what a company's condition is, or what a state or municipality is, go look at their bond statement, the statement they put out when they borrow. November 2008, the New Hampshire bond statement has a section in there entitled State Retirement System. If you add up all the liabilities they talk about in here, in November 2008, the unfunded liability of the state of New Hampshire was $7 billion. There's copies from the bond statement and a summary. You try and find out now, you can't find out. They borrowed $18 million more from the retirement fund to cover the budget.
They couldn't even pass extending the amount of years you'd have to work by 5.
Couldn't extend.
That got finally voted out.
That got voted out.
Yeah, they couldn't.
Even after it had already been voted in.
Right.
Yes, they couldn't do that. All you have to, not all you have to do, you have to be a little bit stricter on retirement ages. You have to be a little bit stricter on the benefits you give Group 2. You have to be a little bit more committed on making sure it's funded properly every year. You can't borrow from it like you did this year. This is the ticking time bomb. And there's an absolute, you call the retirement system or the governor's office or the Democratic leadership in the House and Senate and ask them what the unfunded liability is. They'll quote you the $2.5 billion number from October 2007 because they think that's the only number in the public mind, in the public domain. But go to the bond statement, which I've given you the appropriate pages there, and it's stated very explicitly.
So with the 2010 election coming up,
yes,
what are the talking points that you're going to suggest to Republican candidates?
The Democrats are ruining the state of New Hampshire. They have done it with irresponsible spending, irresponsible taxation, only giving lip service to the pledge they took, and in fact, by irresponsible spending, in effect, breaking the pledge. They have imposed added responsibilities on cities and towns that have increased property taxes. And they've been disingenuous about it in the process. They said they cut a budget when they increased it. They said they weren't going to support gay marriage when they did support it. It's an honesty issue. And you are dealing with a party that has successfully played charades with the public for the last 2 or 3 election cycles, and it's time we called them.